What's up, Hokie Nation, and welcome to episode 16 of Talking with Teel, presented by State Farm. The Virginia Tech football staff continues to take shape. What is going to go on in the transfer portal when it opens up on Friday, and Virginia Tech and Virginia square off in hoops? All that and much more coming up on this edition of Talking with Teel, which starts right now. And we record on Tuesday, December 30th, 2025 from the Tech Solutions Studio in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. Remember to like, subscribe, and refer the show to a friend. I'm your host, Carter Hill. To my left is the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, David Teel. Across the way is our managing editor, Mr. David Cunningham. Nick Brown, our director of media, is producing behind the scenes. And today we are joined virtually by our senior staff writer, Andy Bitter. Andy, how are you? Good to see you.
Pretty good. Coming to you from my wine cellar vacation home here.
Yeah, the big question is, do you have a good cab back there or a Pinot Noir?
I don't know. This is my mother-in-law's collection here behind me. So they got a bunch of stuff. I'm not really a wine drinker, but we thought it made for a good background to have that in there.
It is quite the backdrop. Quite the backdrop.
I like it.
Teel, how was Christmas time? How was your last couple weeks?
Christmas time was awesome. Andy and I have been keeping a little secret here of late. And our daughter's surprise gift was a trip to New York, which starts on Friday, when we will start with a Knicks game against the Atlanta Hawks, and then 2 Broadway shows, the first of which is her dream, and that's Hamilton. And when she found out, when she opened the little ticket, she lost her mind.
Awesome.
I'll have to show you guys the video. I mean, she just started screaming. And then we told her that this is going to be her chance to meet Emily Bitter, because the Bitters are making a very similar excursion to New York City for the holidays.
Should be fun. I got my daughter into Hamilton in the spring, and she's 9. And you forget you're watching the thing, and you get to the second act, you're like, there's a lot of like death in the second act of that thing. She's like, I don't think I want to watch. After his son died, she's like, I don't think I want to watch this anymore. I got her to pick it back up, and now she loves it. She went as Eliza Hamilton for Halloween. She knows all the lyrics. She can sing along with the whole thing. So we're going to do it. We did Wicked last spring. We're going to do Hamilton here. So hopefully we're kicking off a lifelong interest here.
Yeah, Jill and Laura did Wicked as well, and we're going to do Hadestown while we're up there. And as it turns out, I mean, before one of the Tech football games, we're in the Lane Stadium press box pregame, and Andy and I are like texting with our respective wives. Now, what show are we going to? And we're going to the same show, same time, and then we're going to have dinner beforehand together, and man, we're going to rock it.
That's going to be fun.
We could just do a podcast up there. We can join you. So, Andy, I'll actually start with you today. So, couple staff additions to Virginia Tech. Reportedly, nothing, again, is official to this point. Sean Spencer reportedly is the defensive line coach coming from Texas A&M. He worked with James Franklin, both at Vanderbilt and at Penn State. His Twitter bio does mention he is coming to Virginia Tech. Doug Shear, coming from UConn, is reportedly going to be the special teams coordinator. Do you have any reaction to those 2 hires on the staff as a whole?
Yeah, you mentioned Shearer. His Twitter account also says special teams coordinator on there. It's like they can announce this themselves, but they can't just come out and announce it as a school. Kind of strange to me. The Spencer hire, I mean, it feels like Pry's been trying to hire him for years. Like, hasn't it seemed like his name has come up in the off seasons? Like, oh, they're going to get Coach Chaos this year, and it never quite materialized. And you thought it might have been a tough thing to get somebody to come from Texas A&M like that, but. He's a guy that, produces. His defensive line was very good this year. They had a great relationship, it seems like, at Penn State previously. So that's the kind of guy that you would like to have on your staff. And I think, if you're replacing somebody who's pretty successful like J.C. Price, you would look for somebody who has that sort of history of success. And I want to say they were 2nd or 3rd nationally in sacks this year. Mm-hmm. A lot of that goes to defensive line, Texas A&M, that was. So I think very good hire there. Special teams, I don't know much about him Previously coached at UConn, NC State, Miami of Ohio before that. UConn special teams were very good this year. Showed vast improvement over his 4 years that he was there. I think a lot of people thought Justin Lustig might come from Penn State. Obviously, that's not the situation right now. So kind of interesting how James Franklin is constructing this staff, and some guys possibly missing on, or you don't know how serious the interest was in all these situations, but it's coming together a little bit. Just a few more spots to finish out.
Are you surprised? You mentioned Justin Lustig. Are you, and we can go roundtable with it, are you guys surprised in the slightest he did not bring more of his on-field staff with him from Penn State? Now, they still need to hire a safeties coach and a cornerbacks coach. Terry Smith is obviously not going to come to Virginia Tech. But are you surprised they didn't bring more of the on-field staff from Penn State to Virginia Tech if you're James Franklin, Andy?
Maybe a little bit. They get the offensive coordinator that's coming from there. Quarterbacks coach is coming from there. Strength coach is coming from there. So that's a pretty good start. Penn State has resources too. That's a pretty good school to work at. And I would imagine if Matt Campbell wants to keep some continuity there, they can make pretty competitive offers for these guys that might just be comfortable in their situation and not want to up and move to another place like that. So it's always an individual basis when it comes to these coaches. I don't think they're all married to the coach that they previously worked for. So you're going to get some, you're not going to get others, but I guarantee you they'll have 10 assistant coaches when this whole thing shakes out by the end of the year.
I like assistant coaches who have worked with accomplished head coaches. And if you look at Sean Spencer, he's worked for Mike Elko, he's worked for James Franklin, he's worked for Dave Clawson. That's 3 pretty accomplished big whistles right there who hired this guy. To me, that speaks a lot. And then you talk about Shearer. He worked with Jim Mora. And my experience with Mora is twofold. One, he brought a UCLA team east to Charlottesville and dealt with him just a little bit in the pregame walk up to that. But then he was Michael Vick's coach in Atlanta for a while. I used to go down to Atlanta a lot. And I just enjoyed my interaction. I was impressed with him. And as Andy mentioned, the Huskies were very good on special teams. They were just very good, period, this year. Now they got run the other day by Army up in the Fenway Bowl, but that's the interim coach situation, and we've seen around the country this year that it doesn't work so well. And he worked with Dave Dorn in NC State, right, Andy?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the special teams, Virginia Tech's going to have some continuity there because you've got the Love brothers.
Yeah, true.
Two really good. You're inheriting 2 really good kickers.
It's a nice place to start, right?
Yes, but it'll be interesting to see how they need a punter. It'll be interesting to see where they go there. Yeah, this staff continues to take shape. Carter, I'm interested to see. Linebackers seems like Prize coaching that unit. I know Dan Connor, the Penn State linebackers coach, was a name that came up earlier and then seemed like it went away a little bit. But you got cornerbacks and safety still. No Terry Smith, but Anthony Poindexter is
still out there.
Yeah, he's the guy that's still out there that could potentially be that fill at safeties coach. So, yes, why Virginia Tech hasn't officially announced it itself is it's kind of annoying because it's like all this stuff is clearly coming together and I think Norvell McKenzie, the running backs coach, tweeted a picture of his sons at Virginia Tech. They're so happy to be here. And James Franklin retweeted it, and it's it's clearly official. It's just they just haven't publicized it. But
they've been recruiting for weeks.
Yeah.
You see all these recruits are like, "Thanks for the offer, Danny O'Brien." It's like he's been there a month. I've had open records requests in for contracts, and Virginia Tech's like, we don't have anything. I'm like, how is that possible? That cannot be possible at this point. So maybe I have to revisit some of those things and send another one to see if they respond to it this time.
Teel, have you heard anything about the safeties or corners? Obviously, I think there's some rumor names out there with the cornerback spot, a name, former Hokie maybe in the NFL potentially could fill that role. And then you have a guy in the safeties role like Anthony Poindexter. And some people have said he could come to Virginia Tech. Others have mentioned that he could be going with Jim Knowles to Tennessee. Do you know anything about whether or not he's going to come to Blacksburg? And I guess if not, what direction the Hokies are going to go?
I do not know specifics and certainties. I've heard the same names that you guys have had. And I read a South Carolina report that they made a run at Torian Gray, and it was unsuccessful. And Shane Beamer was able to retain him. That must have been an interesting conversation between Shane and Torian, and perhaps an agent or two. But I really don't know where this will land.
What were your experiences with Poindexter? I'm sure you know him pretty well, him being at UVA.
I don't know if I know him well, but I was around him a lot, both as a player and a coach. And man, he could play, and he just had terrible injury luck there at the end of his career. And you always think, what would have been for him on the professional level.
What do you got, Andy? Anything on Poindexter? You expect him to be in Blacksburg?
It sounds like there's a pretty competitive offer there. You could possibly go to Tennessee with Jim Knowles. Again, Tennessee has resources. They can pay a guy quite a bit. I sort of depends on what he wants to do professionally. Where does he want to go? I think, perhaps his recruiting talents could play better in the Virginia area than Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't venture this way a whole lot. And Tennessee kind of has a weird recruiting areas that it goes into. And I feel like it's more dispersed than other schools. They're maybe a little more localized. But, I think the opportunity is there if he wants it. We'll see if he wants it. But if they don't, I'm sure they have capable backups in mind where they could turn with this staff. Like I said, they'll have 10 guys, and all Virginia Tech fans will come around on them eventually. Even if, though, I feel like right now, perhaps, if you're an average fan, you might look at this coaching staff and feel a little underwhelmed. Maybe could have expected a few more big names in this whole thing, because Franklin has gone big game hunting in the past when he's gone after coordinators and things like that. I think the one big name I see here sort of is Spencer. Yeah. It depends on how you want to classify Brent Pry. I think in any other situation, you would look at that and you go, oh, you hired a former head coach as your defensive coordinator. That's a pretty big deal, but it was just the unusual circumstances with him previously coaching here as the head coach. But, again, we judge all these things based on, do I know this guy? Have I heard of this guy? And if I have, therefore he's successful. It's like draft picks. I've heard of that guy. That guy's good. Oh, I've never heard of that guy. And then, a couple years down the line, it's like, oh, Rob Gronkowski was pretty good from Arizona. These no-name guys that you haven't heard much about. It's like, well, these other guys can coach too. So I generally give coaches a lot of leeway when they're putting together a staff. It's like, all right, let's see how it works once they put it together.
I think with Poindexter, he's worked with Franklin for a long time. Nobody knows him, should know him better than Franklin. I saw he called plays in the bowl game, and he earned the game ball from Terry Smith. Maybe he wants to go be a full-time defensive coordinator because he has kind of been in that co-DC role for a little bit. Yes. As far as cornerbacks go, it seems like there are some potential NFL names in that circle, but the portal opens. I'm sure the players who are interested in Virginia Tech will know who the coaches are going to be. That's all that matters. Yeah.
James Franklin's been recruiting. My guy Max is deciding between Florida and Virginia Tech, and I hope he's coming to Virginia Tech. Now, hey, Max, it's James Franklin. You're coming to Virginia Tech? That's awesome. That's awesome.
Did you guys see that video? Andy, did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah. Yeah. How about the future for Virginia Tech football on the field? We've been talking about the staff, and last week we did, or I guess 2 weeks ago, we did a buy or sell for who was going to be the next starting quarterback for Virginia Tech. Before we do that, let's talk about let's go to this past year's team a little bit. No surprises with Pop Watson, right? No surprises whatsoever about him entering the transfer portal.
Or Garrett Rangel.
Yes, true.
How do you pronounce it, Andy?
Rangel.
Yeah.
Philip Montgomery made sure to get it right.
Yes.
If you're a quarterback from Oklahoma, you should just change it to Wrangle.
Yes.
It's like a Joe Theismann thing, like change the spelling. Like just change it to Wrangle and just embrace it. I think you come across as more of a gunslinger if it's Wrangle than Rangel.
True.
Yeah, no surprise with either one of them. And I think the thing with Pop Watson's like, I think a lot of fans always like the backup when they're the backup, and then they get a little playing time and you're not sure. And that became the thing with Kyron Drones. And I think we saw glimpses of Watson being really good. He tore up a very bad Virginia defense, but when he got pressured against Duke and Minnesota and came in other places, I mean, he had some good plays, and then as you saw against Miami, you know, he was strip sacked by Akeem Mesidor. So I think it's probably the next step, and they got to go out and get at least one quarterback, if not multiple.
You ready for these three? Buy or sell. One is going to be the starting quarterback at Virginia Tech in 2026. And again, I'll be honest, like obviously like this is a lot of, it's just content based, but it sparks good conversation. So here's the three names. One of them is a repeat name, Ethan Grunkenmeyer. We saw what he did in the Pinstripe Bowl.
I bought that.
You did. Colton Joseph and Bo Pribula at Missouri. Somebody that is getting a lot of attention because he was Penn State's backup actually was in the news a lot a season ago. He was Penn State's backup quarterback. He had to depart, correct, during the college football playoff. Goes to Missouri, has a pretty good year. The interception rate was a little bit alarming, but pretty good year in the SEC, and some people have connected to Virginia Tech to him. So Colton Joseph, Bo Pribula, Ethan Grunkenmeyer. Andy, we will start with you. Buy or sell. One of the three is the next starting quarterback at Virginia Tech.
I might buy that this time. Last time we did this, Rocco Becht was not in the transfer portal.
Right.
And you're looking at a potential quarterback at Penn State. And, I think that might be the only way Grunkenmeyer leaves is if they bring in a quarterback that would be the obvious starter in that situation. I think Rocco Becht would, having that history with Matt Campbell. So we'll see where he lands there. Pribula has the history with them. You mentioned last year or 2 seasons ago, him being in the news in the playoffs. He also saved their butt against Wisconsin on a game on the road where Aller got hurt, and he played all of the second half, I think, and made some big plays to win that game. I think there's less of a chance of Joseph coming here. I think he's probably going to have some offers. I think he would be, if I were picking one of the three that's the best, I think I would pick Joseph, but I think he's going to have some options out there as well. So I guess I'll buy it this week at the risk of looking stupid and flip-flopping the next time we do this.
What about you, Teel?
Well, it's reminiscent of our weekly ACC championship game picks, right? Where we were all flipping and all wrong at every turn. I confess, when we did the buy or sell the first time, and you mentioned Grunkenmeyer, I knew who he was. I hadn't really looked at the numbers. Guys, the numbers are pretty damn good.
They are.
He completed 69% of his passes this season. That would be a Virginia Tech record for a season. And what was always the knock on Kyron Drones? He wasn't an accurate passer. And in the second half against Clemson the other day, he was 11 for 13 and for, I think, 200 some yards. I mean, he was really good. The concern with him, I think, is he has shown, at least by the numbers, no semblance of mobility. There is no dual threat to Ethan Grunkenmeyer. Pribula, on the other hand, as well as Joseph, obviously, dual threat. I'm going to buy. I think it will be one of those three. Now, are you going to pivot?
Well,
and
it's
sell
funny
now?
because I find it very funny that I was buying. I bought it last time, and now you guys are coming around.
Yeah.
It's funny because you can kind of line them up on a scale of most mobile to least mobile, right? I mean, most mobile is Joseph. Pribula is kind of in the middle, and Grunkenmeyer is probably the least of the three mobility wise. But I think, Carter, you texted to us the other day that he, or maybe it was Nick, PFF quarterback as far as
Nick did.
Best PFF quarterback as far as bowl games go.
He's the highest, right? The highest rated quarterback.
Yeah, he's very talented, Grunkenmeyer. And obviously there's familiarity with Pribula too. So I will continue to buy it. Yeah. I think Joseph, it sounds like what Franklin and company want to air it out a little bit more. And I don't know that Joseph necessarily fits what they would want to do at Virginia Tech, but I think the other two do. And if you can get Pribula back, I think they would probably want to do that. But also, Danny O'Brien the quarterback's coach. Who does he know better than Grunkemeyer, the guy he just recruited? And I thought I brought this up last time. I think Chris was asked this in a Q&A and answered it, and he basically broke down Grunkemeyer's final like 5 or 6 games of the year. He was very, very efficient. He improved a lot as the season went on. He just finished his true freshman year.
He's got 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so that could be a long-term investment there at quarterback.
Yeah, and a couple other things on Grunkemeyer, guys, and I sent this to the group chat yesterday, I think. No team scored as many points against Indiana this season as Penn State.
With Grunkemeyer.
No team scored as many touchdowns against Indiana this season as Penn State. And Ethan Grunkemeyer was the quarterback in that game. Now, and that's the last game that he lost.
Sure.
And then on the way down today, I was listening to the Nittany Dispatch podcast with our friends Audrey and John, who came down from State College when James Franklin was introduced. And this was their post-Pinstripe Bowl quick hit. And they seem convinced that Rocco Becht is going to State College.
Okay.
To rejoin Matt Campbell. And if that is indeed the case, you have to believe that Grunkemeyer is at least going to explore his options.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's technically not in the portal yet. I should say that. He's not in the portal yet.
Yeah, but I mean, that's I think those 2 decent options for the Hokies and Grunkemeyer and Pribula, and two guys they're also very, very familiar with too.
Yeah.
How about a fourth?
To be fair,
ahead,
Carter,
Andy,
to be fair, the portal is not open yet.
Correct.
True.
All these guys that have entered the portal, they have announced they plan to enter the portal in a couple days.
It's like a waiting list.
Yeah. How about a fourth name here? Not to throw him in this mix, but if the opportunity presented itself and none of those 3 come to Virginia Tech,
I know where he's going with
would
this.
you pursue Anthony Calandria, Teel?
No.
Who's in the portal, announced his intentions to enter the portal at UNLV?
No.
No? Okay.
He's still the same. I know scared money don't make money in Ryan Willis's lexicon, but my goodness, that guy will win you a game and then he will just lose a game faster than a blink of an eye. No, it would be a hard pass on Anthony Calandria.
I think
I say sign up as a writer. I say sign him up.
Yes.
I think that's highly entertaining.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Calandria is the guy that will throw the game-tying touchdown and then get the penalty for like posing.
Yeah.
They can get screwed on the kickoff coming back the other way. How entertaining would that be to cover? I think that'd be incredibly fun. And then you'd have the UVA Tech angle like that. I mean, I think that'd be awesome. So I say yes, go for it. Although he had a weird thing at UNLV where he announced he was coming back and then flipped it like the next week and said, actually, no, I'm not coming back. So kind of strange situation.
What was the quote back in 2023? He's like, when we beat Virginia Tech, we're here. What was it? They like jumped on the world's going to know. Yeah.
They did
and Virginia
not.
Tech had a couple late hits in that game too, I remember, as they won 55-17.
Was Ben Bell in that game or something?
No, that's a crazy pull. That's a good pull. Let's keep it rolling here with the content. Bobby Petrino, Teel, he's going to North Carolina. The jokes continue to write themselves. You got Bill Belichick as the head football coach. Bobby Petrino reportedly is going to be the offensive coordinator at the University of North Carolina. Does that work?
I am not a fan of AI until that news broke, and then all the memes with the motorcycle.
You saw the sidecar?
And the sidecar with Belichick. I mean, I'm howling, and I can't text it to people fast enough. No, it is. I cannot imagine Bubba Cunningham, the outgoing athletic director at North Carolina, who is as accomplished in this industry as it gets, who had to be dragged kicking and screaming into this whole Belichick fiasco, to have seen his reaction when he learned that Bobby Petrino was the likely offensive coordinator. No, it won't go well.
Okay. What about you,
I
Andy?
disagree. I disagree. I think it can work. I think Petrino's a good coach. Now, I mean, hide your daughters at UNC. My goodness. I would not feel comfortable about that side of the whole thing, but I think from strictly a football coach side of things, I think he's a very good offensive mind. And if he's not in charge of your program, that's probably for the best. I mean, is it going to be worse than what the offense they put on the field this year? I mean, I thought that was a disaster, and that's not all on the offensive coordinator. They had really bad talent there as well. But if the offense fails next year, I don't think it will be because of this hire. I think it will be because Belichick still hasn't figured out how to put together a college team.
I know Arkansas finished 2-10 this year. Yeah. According to FEI offensive ratings, Arkansas had the 16th best offense, despite being such a bad team. Maybe Petrino can coach, but that just is a hilarious pairing.
Right, and here's the thing that I would worry about if Bobby Petrino were in my building as an assistant. He's going to want to be the head coach.
Sure.
And I wonder if he sees, if he's playing that angle here. Oh, Belichick, he's a short timer. If I do well on the offensive side, maybe I get another chance. There's nothing about Bobby Petrino that strikes me as a team player and as trustworthy.
Yeah, I'm just a little surprised they went that route, but I guess nothing surprises you with what Carolina's done over the last year. But again, I don't know how much worse their offense can be. And to your point, David, his numbers at Arkansas offensively were not bad, even though they went 2-10, and they did not win a game as their interim head coach, as when he was their interim head coach, I should say. So I don't know. We'll see. Kyle Whittingham, as we keep it rolling, going to Michigan. 2 weeks ago, we're kind of going back and forth on, could it be Jed Fish? Could it be Kenny Dillingham? It's going to be Kyle Whittingham, who has been at Utah for over 20 years, over 30 as when you combine as an assistant and a head coach. And he steps down a couple weeks ago, and all of a sudden, he's going to be the next head football coach at Michigan. What are your thoughts, Teel?
Two-pronged. It is, and we'll take it back to Penn State too. It is remarkable to me how bizarre the two searches at Penn State and Michigan, these big brand Big Ten schools, were, and yet they landed so well. Matt Campbell, Kyle Whittingham. I don't think they could have asked for better fits, especially given the Sharon Moore scandal. Here's Kyle Whittingham, who's my age, literally 66, apparently hasn't missed a workout day in 10 years.
Teel, you got to get in the weight room here.
No kidding. I mean, he makes me, I do the Peloton every day, and I feel lazy looking at Kyle Whittingham. And a fascinating part of this to me is reportedly he is going to be bringing Jason Beck along as his offensive coordinator from Utah. Jason Beck, who's a former quarterbacks coach at UVA with Bryce Perkins, and then went to Syracuse when Bronco Mendenhall left Virginia. I think Jason Beck is a future star. And I think if Whittingham can bring him along, I think that would go a long way, perhaps toward keeping Bryce Underwood in the fold and for making Michigan very good in very short order. Not that they were, 9-3?
Yeah. Yes, and in the top 20.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a go the other way hire where you look at the history of Michigan recently. It seems like there's been a lot of nonsense going on there. Sharon Moore's deal, he's freaking out. He's DMing all sorts of people, this illicit relationship within the program. Harbaugh was always doing something that was pushing the boundaries, the counter stallions thing. Even in the basketball program, Juwan Howard, that was a mess for a while here. Kyle Whittingham is decidedly no nonsense. Yep. He seems like he is exactly what that program needs right now after, years. It wasn't just last year in the way Sharon Moore got fired at the end of it. I mean, Harbaugh was always up to something, and it was always tweaking people and pushing the boundaries of the rules. And I feel like Whittingham's a guy who's just going to sort of be above all that. Maybe I'm, giving him credit for things that is not really true, but he comes across that way. That somebody's just not going to put up with the BS and just sort of run a straightforward program. And maybe that's what Michigan was looking for and what they needed right now.
I think the craziest part is he's the guy who replaced Urban Meyer at Utah. I mean, that's how long he was at Utah for. But they just won 10 games this year. Yeah. He knows how to run a good program.
And yet he was nudged out.
Yeah.
That's the weird part of all this.
Yeah. I covered him in a Sugar Bowl, the Alabama-Utah Sugar Bowl, where Utah just jumped out to like a 21-0 lead in the first quarter.
Boat race.
Might have been the birth of the SEC being like, they didn't care about that game. Clearly they didn't care about that game. But that was the Nick Saban coach team. They went down there and Utah whooped up on them, won that game. I think I remember one of the pregame pressers leading up to it. Somebody was asking him about, I want to say Lavelle Edwards, because Lavelle Edwards had been there for so long at BYU, and they're like, do you plan to coach as long as Lavelle? And he did the math on it. He's like, 67. No, absolutely not. There's no way I'll be coaching that long. And now he's 66 and he's now starting a new venture here at Michigan that doesn't seem like he's got retirement on the mind right now. And I mean, he's been a really good, solid coach for a long time. And it'll be interesting to see what he can do going to a program with Michigan's resources. Now, do I think he's a, 10-year coach or something like that? No, but I mean, Kurt Signetti was a coach that got hired in his 60s and made an immediate impact at a school like Indiana. Now take that to Michigan with the resources and history that they have there. I think he can turn it around in short order.
I imagine it's like a breath of fresh air for him a little bit too. I mean, you go from being in a place for 30 years and you come into a place with all these glamorous resources. Now there's a lot of cleaning up to do, but
yes,
I mean, but I'm sure he's re-energized in a way, just in terms of excitement. I mean, Michigan is one of the best jobs in the country and he's got it. And I know he's been doing this for a long time. How much longer does he do this? But he's got a chance to win and win quickly, has great resources. And I imagine he is revived a little bit because I can imagine the Utah situation seems like it went the way it did towards the end where they were kind of nudging him out.
Yeah. That coach and waiting stuff is so awkward.
I'm sure he wants to prove himself a little bit too.
Yeah. And I mean, the only thing that would give me pause about the Michigan situation is leadership at the top. Interim president, they haven't named the full-time yet, and Ward Manuel's got to be a short-timer, the athletic director. It's just been one scandal after another there. That's one of the best AD jobs in the country. They'll be lining up for that job, but literally Kyle Whittingham is walking in there thinking, I have no idea who my bosses are going to be.
All right. And with that, let's step aside, come right back. When we do, we'll talk Virginia Tech, Virginia in hoops, the ACC in football, and the college football playoff continues. Stick with us here on Talking with Teel.
Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on the lights. We switch TV channels. Some of us switch partners while square dancing. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, a group of State Farm agents that support TechSideline.com can switch you over to State Farm so you can start saving today. These State Farm agents and their team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. Check out Tech Sideline for the agent in your area. It's easy to switch and save. Just give them a call. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And welcome back to this edition of Talking with Teel, presented by State Farm. We got David Teel in studio, Andy Bitter joining us remotely, David Cunningham across the way. Teel, let's go around the ACC and football. I want to start with the school in Charlottesville, Virginia, and Chandler Morris. There is all this talk about the potential for a 7th year for him. Do you know anything about that and whether or not he could return to UVA in 2026?
Well, first of all, a note about Virginia winning the other, beating Missouri in the Gator Bowl, first 11-win season in program history. Guys, Virginia is the first program in ACC history to win 11 games in a season after having had 3 consecutive losing years. That's pretty remarkable what they just accomplished. We can talk all day long about the schedule and such, and Missouri was without, Bo Perbula, but they beat them. And you mentioned Chandler Morris. He was 10 for 10 on third down the other night for a $119. And that drive to open the second half, 19 plays, 75 yards, more than 10 minutes off the clock. It was death by 1,000 cuts. If
you had a great punt too.
Yeah,
yes.
And Andy, you mentioned that. I'm sitting there at home because they didn't send me to Jacksonville, and so I immediately start scouring every stat sheet from TCU and Oklahoma and North Texas. That kid had never punted in a college game, and he throws that pooch punt down there to like the 1 or 2. He pinned them. And it was like, wow, he's got it going on this half. So shout out to Tony Elliott and his staff. And you mentioned the really bad defense that Pop Watson lit up last season. That was a really good defense this year. It's the best Virginia defense since 2006, 19 years.
Yeah, and you saw it. I mean, I know. Eli Drinkwitz took Hardy off the field,
on 4th and 2, and ran a freshman quarterback on a sweep. I'm like, they're paying Eli Drinkwitz how much now for that?
What do you
that
think?
quarterback didn't really seem like he knew where the. That quarterback didn't really seem like he knew where the first down marker was. He didn't make a great effort to get after that whole thing.
No.
People were mentioning afterwards that Missouri has been like this, like false ranked team that the SEC keeps using to prop itself up. 0-5 against ranked teams, I think it was this year. And it was like they were touted as like a real quality win for all these SEC programs throughout the year. And you have to look back at this thing and just go, are these self-perpetuating rankings that they do throughout the year? They rank all these SEC teams really high at the beginning of the year, and then they play each other and they knock each other off. They go, wow, what great competition. And then they get up against somebody else. They realize they were shorthanded in this game, but UVA was playing without Jamari Taylor and a couple other guys that were not in that game as well. So everybody's shorthanded in these games. Perhaps Mizzou was a little bit more, but that offense looked horrible in that game. And credit UVA's defense for shutting them down. And I don't know, maybe we need Texas A&M didn't really beat anybody all that good this year. It didn't look great in that playoff game either. I think that you need to look at these schedules a little bit more carefully when you're judging these teams, especially ranking them and then counting them as quality wins for other programs as well.
Andy, Missouri went 4-4 in the SEC, and the 4 SEC teams it beat went a combined, wait for it now, 3-29 in league games.
Really?
1-7, 1-7, 1-7, 0-8. Those are the 4 SEC teams that Missouri defeated.
And they extended Eli Drinkwitz over that too.
Paper tiger indeed.
That's crazy.
Well, this is why with these huge leagues, you really do need to dissect the schedules that these teams play and go, oh man, they have this record against the SEC. It's like, oh, well, it's a segment of the SEC that is different. Now, if they had that record and they, beat Alabama or beat LSU or beat Georgia or something like that along the way, that's one thing. But, the games they were winning, not that impressive. And that's why I don't think you can just go, oh, this team is 12-1 or something like that in the SEC. It's like, well, look at who they beat and then judge it by that.
Yeah, but Carter, I'm sorry we got off track. Back to your original question about Chandler Morris in the prospective 7th year. It's been kind of an interesting tap dance on this issue. Tony Elliott first brought it up prior to the Gator Bowl. And he said at the time they were proceeding under the assumption that he would not return. Then last week, we had a media availability in Charlottesville with Justin Spiros and Tyler Jones, their assistant GM and GM respectively. And they pronounced themselves hopeful that Morris would get the 7th year. And then we talked to Chandler himself, and he said, I feel pretty good about it. Then pivot to Saturday night postgame, And Jeff White from VirginiaSports.com, who we all know, but works for the athletic department, he phrased a question to Chandler Morris. Do you feel good leaving the program in a better place than you found it? Which, when I heard him ask it, I was like, oh, leaving the program? And then Morris embraced the concept. He did not push back on it in the least and said, that's kind of how I've been raised. You want to leave a program better than you found it. And to me, that just sounded like a young man who was saying goodbye to college football and the University of Virginia.
Andy, should Chandler Morris get a 7th year? I'm curious your thoughts.
No, we shouldn't. Go get a job at this point. I know these are jobs. They're getting paid for stuff like this, but 7 years, come on now. We're past the COVID extension. And part of his was he did have a COVID year that didn't count,
yes,
correct?
That's correct.
He's been in college that long that we're still, factoring that in at this point.
Yeah, that was his first year was 2020. At issue is his 2022 season at TCU, where he was named the starter and then got hurt in the first game against, I believe it was Colorado, and then essentially got Wally pipped, and TCU goes on, to the national championship game and such. But late in the season, they put him in games, including one where he came in for 4 kneel downs, or 3, excuse me, on the last series to run out the clock. And I think he played 5 snaps in the national title blowout against Georgia. And that was the basis of the waiver. And I mean, it's a pretty specious one, but my sense is that Chandler Morris's time in Charlottesville is done, and that they too will be portal shopping for a quarterback, because I don't think they're quite sold on Daniel Kalen as the answer.
I know these schools they're so afraid of the lawsuits that come in and stuff like that. Don't they kind of have to stand up for their eligibility rules at a certain point and just like, we're taking a stand here. Legally, we'll fight this thing. I mean, we're talking about 7th years for guys. When you're 24, 25 years old, should you be playing college football still? It strikes me as very strange. It's kind of just, it's gone past the line in the recent years. And I know the COVID thing messed it all up and created a bunch of, 60-year seniors was nothing unusual because of that extra free year that everybody had. But I feel like they kind of have to return to normalcy at this point and just can't keep allowing these 24, 25-year-olds. Again, it just seems very strange that they're playing against people that are possibly 17, 18-year-olds coming into college football.
Yeah, and the NCAA has pushed back on some of these legal challenges and has won some of them. So I think, if, say, Morris were to lawyer up, I don't think you'd see the NCAA cave on it.
So, Teel, it's interesting. We recorded a basketball preview about Virginia Tech and Virginia tomorrow, and we figured that Toby Lawal was probably not going to play. Mm-hmm. But the moment, pretty much about an hour after we hit the record button to stop recording and to post the podcast, we find out that Tyler Johnson is probably not going, well, not even probably, he's not playing for Virginia Tech tomorrow. So in all likelihood, Virginia Tech against Virginia, and to your point earlier, David, the best offensive rebounding team in the ACC is going to be without its top 2 rebounders, Tyler Johnson and Toby Lawal.
Amani Hansberry would like a word.
Well, that's true. That's true. But the Hokies got to rebound better. They got to rebound better.
Yes,
and you're down 2 of your top guys. With that in mind, those 2 guys out tomorrow against the Cavaliers, what do you make of the matchup between Virginia Tech and Virginia?
A couple things. First, credit to Mark Berman
yes.
of the Roanoke Times for talking to Mike Young today and breaking that news about Tyler Johnson. And I've kind of thought all along coming into this matchup, presuming, and I know Coach Young threw out the bone that Lawal might play tomorrow. I don't think we expect that to happen. Thinking that Virginia Tech would be without Lawal tomorrow, and knowing that Virginia would be without Jakari White, I still thought advantage UVA. And now with no Tyler Johnson, I think it's definite advantage UVA. But what has struck me about both of these teams, They each have 11 wins. They both won their 11th game last season in early February. So each is miles ahead of a year ago. But they have both already shown that they can win while shorthanded. Virginia began the year without Devin Tillis, who had to have a minor knee procedure. He's a transfer forward from UC Irvine, and he's since come back. And now they're without Jakari White. And the Hokies have been without Toby Lawal. Now they're going to be without Tyler Johnson. And then, David, at the Elon game that you covered it, and I was reading your story, and I'm watching the game on my laptop. And at one point in overtime, I didn't realize all the machinations and who was hurt and who was missing. And I'm like, is that Sincere Jones on the floor?
Yeah.
And I'm like, say what? Because the game is in the balance here and it's overtime. And look, I know Elon's been run by some mediocre competition, but wow, for the Hokies, because Hansberry fouled out and Johnson got hurt in overtime, they were already without Dorn and already without Lawal. These teams are learning to win while shorthanded.
Yeah, they were playing. I mean, we've seen Isaiah Pasha get a lot of run recently.
Right.
The Hokies have been, seems like they've been banged up all season. Jalen Bedford and Neokos Avdalis have both been sick. Avdalis missed the last game. Bedford was available after missing the previous game due to an illness and didn't really look himself. But we've seen Pasha play a lot. Sincere Jones, a Portsmouth kid, or Churchland.
757.
He has gotten a little bit of run. We've seen a lot of Christian Gerdak lately because Antonio Dorn has a back thing.
Gerdak's been good.
Yeah, Gerdak has been really good. But it's like if Tech doesn't have Lawal, Johnson, and Dorn, is it Grunlow?
Yeah, Johan Grunlow.
He's they've got a lot of size inside. It's like the Hokies need a physical guy like Dorn. They're a little bit limited in the front court right now without Lawal, without Dorn. They have shown the ability to kind of string things together and win. I thought Carter was there for this. I thought one of their more impressive wins of the year was at South Carolina because this is their first game back in the U.S. after the Bahamas without Lawal, and they lose a couple different guys to foul trouble, including Johnson during the game and Avdalis, and they have to grind out an overtime win, I believe, against South Carolina.
3-0 in overtime
on the road. So they've gotten a little bit lucky at times, considering that Michi Johnson didn't put up a shot at the buzzer.
Yes.
But at the same time, it takes a little bit of skill to win those games. But
and then they turned around and beat Mason.
Yeah,
badly too. Who's only lost a game, I believe, 13-1.
That is George Mason's lone setback of the season.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's interesting. I would say, yes, big advantage UVA, considering one of the best, third in offensive rebound percentage in the country at like 42%, I believe. And the Hokies' best rebounder is Lawal, and Hansberry is probably their second, but Johnson, pound for pound, is an elite rebounder at the 3 spot. And you're going to be without probably 2 of those guys tomorrow. Again, just not a great matchup. And it stinks because this could have been a really, really big time game between 2 really good teams. I still think it'll be good, but maybe not as competitive.
Yeah, Virginia is a shot blocking machine as well.
What's the big guy's name? Starts with an O on the inside. The guy coming off the bench.
Who came in from Kentucky. Now I'll butcher it.
Yeah, I don't know his name either, but I know he leads the nation in blocks, block percentage.
Block percentage, yeah.
Can you remember the 5 that were on the floor for the Elon overtime after Hansberry fouled out?
It was
this is insane.
It was Hammond,
This is
it was
insane.
Hammond, Pasha, Shoot, Jones, and Gerdak.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was.
Didn't
yes,
have
it
that
was.
on your bingo card, did you?
No, and it's and the tough part is we were talking about it earlier. Tech's intro to ACC play is not terrible. They got Wake on the road on Saturday, and then they got Cal and Stanford here.
Right.
3 or first 4 are at home. Later in the year, they've got at Louisville, at Carolina, at State, Clemson at home, Duke at home. But it gets a little bit more difficult, but they need to get healthy.
They need to get healthy.
Teel, I don't think I've asked you this question before. We've talked about it on the basketball podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think with Virginia Tech fully healthy, Toby Lawal back, Tyler Johnson back, come March, is an NCAA tournament team?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. Obviously, the caveat that they have to be healthy. And I believe that of their remaining games, 10 of them are right now classified on the net as quad one.
I believe that's correct.
That is a golden opportunity. Now, it could also go south
Sure.
in a hurry, but they will have, unlike last season when the ACC was so down that quad one opportunities were few and far between, this season they are right there.
The ACC is much better this year. And you can see, I mean, they put out something earlier, but there are 9 teams that have at least 10 wins on the year in the league. Now, they vary, of course. You've got your 3 ranked teams in Duke, Carolina, and Louisville, or 4 in Virginia. But the Hokies, Cal, Stanford, Miami, I believe, is in that mix, and Clemson. Yes. I mean, I think the league is much deeper, and as a result, there are going to be more opportunities for quality wins. But I'm interested to see. I'm sure we'll get the first availability reports of the basketball season tonight. It'll be interested to see what the Hokies list them as, probably just game time decisions or questionable. But I agree. I think the Hokies they can be an NCAA tournament team. It stinks. You look at Toby Lawal's defensive rebounding rate, tied for 10th in the country. Now he's only played 34% of minutes. On the other side, UVA's missing Jakari White, who has, I think, the 6th best offensive box plus minus in the country. Yeah. It's like you're missing 2 really, really good players in this game. It's a bummer that maybe come the final regular season game, they'll both be full strength.
And David, not only good players, trust me, having seen both, they're really fun to watch.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, White is a heater on offense. Obviously, Toby's athleticism. And you mentioned the ACC's improvement. Here are 2 examples. Last season, against its Power 4 peers, Power 5, including the Big East, ACC teams, including the NCAA tournament, were 20-55. This season, 38-39. Last year against the SEC, 4-30.
Oh my gosh!
This year, 15-17.
Big difference.
And a lot of them have come down to the wire too.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's progress.
Yeah.
You guys ready to pick the playoff games?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's get Andy back.
Yeah,
involved.
let's get Andy involved here. So Miami and Ohio State. Miami winning that college football playoff game against Texas A&M. Back to football, massive for the ACC. Because I don't think Louisville winning over Toledo is going to move the needle, to your point earlier.
Or NC State beating Memphis.
Memphis. So, okay, big win for Miami, big win for the ACC. Hurricanes and the Buckeyes in the Cotton Bowl. Andy, who wins?
I think Ohio State. Ohio State might be the best team in the country. I like Miami's win last week. I just don't know. They didn't score a touchdown until there was like a minute left or whatever it was in that game. And there was some great defense played in that game, some very bad kicking as well. You got to do more offensively to beat a really sound team like Ohio State. And I think the Hurricanes are going to struggle in that game. It's a step up in competition. Let's put it that way.
All right, Teel.
In my bracket in Tiny Teal's pool, this was my upset. I picked Miami to beat Ohio State. I don't feel great about it, but that defense against Texas A&M the other day, and what was so reminiscent for Miami is you look at the stars of that game: Malachi Toney, Mark Fletcher, Reuben Bain, Bryce Fitzgerald with 2 picks. They're all South Florida guys.
Yeah.
That's the way the Hurricanes rolled back in the day with their, they owned that recruiting base. Now, they'll never get back to that kind of dominance where they're winning, 5 national championships within 2 decades. But this is what Mario Cristobal, who was part of that, who is a Miami guy, this is what he envisioned. But yeah, I'll take a flyer and go with the Canes.
I feel like it'll be very interesting to see, because there's all this discussion about going into some of these home playoff games in the opening round, and the discussion last year about the teams that had to sit and wait, that you don't get to play at home, you get the bye, you got to play at a neutral site, and some of them were very rusty. I feel like Ohio State will be rightly motivated, and I feel like outside of Indiana, there's not a better team. I've got the Buckeyes, and I'm very excited. I think that will be a very good game, and I think the Canes will be able to hang around. I don't know that it'll be as low scoring as the Texas A&M game was, though.
No, probably not.
Andy, one quick question, since at least you're over 40. Was it pass interference in 2002 in the end zone or not?
No, it wasn't. Come on, it's just jostling. The fact that they called it like 5 seconds late was not really hammer home the point that was a very correct call in that whole situation. Yeah. And, it's not like I was a Miami fan at the time or something like that, but that was a bad call. They got hosed.
This is the first meeting since.
Yes.
No, first postseason.
Oh, postseason.
Yeah. But, it cost them a second consecutive national. Now, they had every chance to win it in the second overtime, and they didn't. But if that official doesn't pull that flag, 5 seconds might be generous. It might have been 10 seconds, because literally the Miami players are celebrating on the field when that flag came out. They win a second.
That's sort of a tough situation to regroup after you think you've won the national championship. Instead, it's first and goal at the 2-yard line or whatever it ended up being after that. I think it was, I don't know what the betting markets were at that point, but I would have put the house on Ohio State that Miami would not be able to recover after that.
To New Year's Day we go. Oregon and Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. A noon game down in Miami Gardens. David, we'll start with you. The Ducks and the Red Raiders. Who goes to the semis?
I got Texas Tech. And I think Oregon played well against JMU. I thought JMU gave them a little bit of a run for the money, especially in that second half. Now, Andy.
No, they didn't. Come on. Run for their money. David, it was 34-6 at halftime. It was 48-13 at one point. What are we talking about? What are we giving out? Participation trophies to JMU because they put up a bunch of yards against a team that didn't care anymore? That game was over. They backdoored covered, and it was still a blowout. And we're calling this a playoff game. No, stop it with this stuff. Yes, they put up a lot of yards, but they got their butts kicked in that game.
What do you think?
Carry on.
What do you think, too? I feel like we're okay. Dave, we'll go to you, and then we'll get.
Well, what I was going to say was I thought Oregon let up a little bit in the second half.
They did.
And I think Texas Tech is really good on both sides of the ball, and I think Texas Tech's defense wins them this game.
I too like Texas Tech here defensively. I mean, David Bailey, the transfer from Stanford. Jacob Rodriguez, the former backup quarterback for Bronco Mendenhall at UVA, who became the best linebacker in the country. But I know Carter's itching for me to
I feel like I'm moderating
referee this fight here. For a JMU grad. The JMU Oregon game was the polar opposite of what I expected. I thought JMU's defense would be much more competitive than its offense.
Okay.
Because its defense had been so good all year, and the way they just looked so helpless in the first half really surprised me. And then on offense, and they moved it the first couple drives, but only got a field goal out of the deal. But I just thought they'd struggle to score. But Oregon probably could have scored, 50, 60
points?
Yeah. And I didn't think that was possible against that defense.
Before we get to Andy, actually, Nick and I were at PK's watching this game, and it's 34-6 at halftime, and we were all texting about it in the group chat and everything, and I'm thinking, Andy is somewhere watching this game, his head is just buried in his hands, saying, how is this what we got in the playoff? And to your point, they did cover. The Dukes did cover, so that does matter. But I agree that the game was not as competitive as some people are making it out to be. So
I turned it off.
Yeah.
There
I
you
turned
go.
the last 2 games off because they were no contests at that point. And I changed it to something that was more interesting or competitive. And, I think if you had Notre Dame and, who was the next team ranked, Texas or
BYU.
Vanderbilt, one of those, BYU. Yeah, I thought either of those would have been more interesting matchups in those 11 and 12 seeds.
Right.
And honestly, I think going forward, I think they need to switch the format and say that you're only guaranteed a spot if you're top 15 or something like that. Because it was half the games last week that weren't interesting going in. And I know other teams have gotten blown out. And they're going to say, oh, Tennessee got blown out by Ohio State. It's like that was not expected in that game. And Tennessee actually had some wins that season that could show you that they could go in there and potentially win if they played well. They didn't play well, and Ohio State did, and they blew them out. There have been other blowouts in playoffs as well. But I just think going into those games, neither of those teams had a chance. And, that's the way it turned out in that game as well.
But I think what people need to remember is the committee's choice was not James Madison or Notre Dame.
It was the ACC.
Yes.
It was
Right.
the committee's choice was James Madison or Duke.
Yeah.
And to me, that decision was the right one.
Which has
Well,
been discussed in
I
this
think
podcast.
what I'm saying is, they had the first year and they had the seeding was screwed up, right? We all agreed that was screwed up, and you can't have Arizona State and Boise State getting a bye just because of weird conference championship rules and stuff like that. I think going into this, they're probably going to expand it and start the whole thing over. I don't think they should. I like this 12-team format, but I think they should just say you got to be ranked a certain 15th or better, or something like that. I don't think we need teams ranked in the 20s to be in this playoff. It's a playoff for a national championship. We don't have to have the 23rd ranked team or something like that in that. And it's earned on the field. It's like, no, it's not. It's not really. They didn't beat anybody during the season that would have told you that they could go out there and compete for a national championship. They had one game against Louisville that, if they beat Louisville and they run the table during the regular season, you could go, well, they beat everybody that was in front of them. They beat the one power conference team that they played, like Boise has done in the past, and proven its worth and been ranked high enough to get in there on its own merits. I just don't think that we need to finagle this so the conference champions get in there if they're ranked in the 20s. And that goes for power conference champions too,
Sure.
not just small conference schools.
I would push back. I want to see the group of 5, which next year becomes the group of 6 with the addition of the Pac-12. I would still like to see one champion from among that collection of teams guaranteed a bid. That would have been Tulane this season. Andy mentioned James Madison's lack of power conference victories. Absolutely, point well taken. Tulane had 2 Power 5 wins on the season, including a very convincing win over the ACC champion. So I really did not begrudge to Tulane its place in this playoff.
So you remind me, I got sidetracked. You had Oregon, Texas Tech. Who did you have?
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. You also had Texas Tech. What about you, Andy? Oregon, Texas Tech, and the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day.
I have Texas Tech in that game. I think they're one of the most undervalued teams in the country just because they play in the Big 12. I forget who their loss was to during the season.
Arizona State with Sam Levitt.
It was a weird one.
Arizona State.
It wasn't Texas Tech's quarterback hurt in that game. There were some weird circumstances in that, I thought.
Yeah, he was out, and he's still hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. I think they have a great defense.
But he's still hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have a great defense. I think they're sort of the modern archetype of college football. I mean, they clearly bought their team this year, and that's nothing to look down on because everybody buys their team this year. So I think they're sort of indicative of the direction that college football is going. And spoiler alert, in Tiny Teal's bracket, just to be different, I picked Texas Tech to go the entire way. So I'm picking them in this one as well.
Nice. All right, Teel, Alabama and Indiana in the Rose Bowl. Crimson Tide and the Hoosiers.
I picked Indiana, and I'll stick with it. But here's my one, not concern, but my one question. Kurt Cignetti, brilliant what he's done at Indiana. But what is your enduring memory of Indiana in the playoff last year against Notre Dame?
His decision to punt lately?
Kurt Cignetti coached scared.
Yeah.
in the play.
After talking a mean game going in,
Absolutely.
being all brash, and I'm a big bad coach and all this stuff, and he's punting from like plus territory. What are you doing? Come on.
He coached scared. Kalen DeBoer ain't scared. Guys, I looked it up this morning. Kalen DeBoer at Washington and Alabama is 17-4 against top 25 competition.
Really?
And a lot of those cats have been top 10s.
What do you got, David? What do you got?
I have Indiana, but I'm interested. Like, he did not coach scared against Ohio State this year in the Big Ten championship game.
No.
Maybe I don't know.
But he was playing. He didn't have anything on the line there.
Yeah, this is win or go home, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think Mendoza and that defense that has been very good and probably doesn't get as much hype about it because
it all stopped with JMU guys.
This is true. I mean, they shut down Ohio State in that Big Ten championship game. Where is that game being played? Is that the Rose Bowl?
The Rose Bowl.
That's the Rose Bowl. I think I like Indiana, but I think it'll be very, very close. And I think Alabama, I mean, started way too slow against Oklahoma and then found its way back. If it plays like it did in that second half, it'll give Indiana a run for its money.
What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I also picked Indiana in this game, but of all the matchups, I think this is the most fascinating to me because I think you look at last year, and I think going in, everybody understood how talented Ohio State was. It's like, why can't they just put this together for a run? And then all of a sudden they did in the postseason. It's go, there it is. That's the run that everybody was waiting for. Alabama is an extremely talented team. And I think throughout the season, you kind of sit there and wonder, like, why can't they put this all together? Why can't they be this team? So I think it'll be a very interesting test of Indiana, certainly. Can Alabama play to the level of talent that its roster has and all the blue chip players that are on there? And, what's Ty Simpson going to do? Is he going to be the good quarterback, the bad quarterback? He's kind of been both all season long here. I just think this is a fascinating matchup and one I definitely will create time on my calendar to sit and watch the entire thing.
Cignetti was a coach at Alabama for multiple years and won multiple national championships.
And Kalen DeBoer was an assistant at Indiana at one point.
Yeah.
So
cool story.
Full circle. Ole Miss and Georgia, last one. Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana. What do you got? What do you got, David? We'll start with you.
I'm going Georgia. I think I like Ole Miss if it had Lane Kiffin. I just think that hill's a little bit too tough to overcome. But Ole Miss I thought Ole Miss looked pretty good, albeit against Tulane. But I'm leaning Georgia. I just feel like the Bulldogs defense continues to show up in big time games and they took Alabama, kind of behind the woodshed in that first half of that SEC championship game.
What about you, Teel?
I picked Georgia to win the national championship.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I like Georgia.
I think they're going to beat Ole Miss, although I would imagine Ole Miss in New Orleans, that dome's got to be maybe 60-40.
In favor of Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm curious. All right. What about you, Andy? Sugar Bowl.
I took Georgia in this game, but I remember the first matchup between these teams. I know Kiffin was coaching that. It was really close. And I think that I felt like Ole Miss probably should have won that game. Maybe I'm misremembering how that.
Do you remember where we were when we were watching that game?
Where was it? I'm trying to.
We were at the bar at the Marriott Marquis getting really bad service.
Oh, that's right. That's where it was.
Atlanta.
Waiting for like an hour to get a chicken sandwich or something like that. I think this could be a real tight one, and I'm interested. Ole Miss wins last week, but again, I think they were playing a team that they should have blown out. In fact, they did earlier this season. We already saw that result, and then it repeated itself in the playoffs. So I don't know if I'm really pulling anything from that. And I think this is a step up and challenge for their head coach now, Pete Golding there. So I'm going to go with Kirby Smart because he's been in these games before, and he's won a lot of them.
Gunnar Stockton was 26 for 31 for 289 and 4 scores in that game. And Georgia outgained Ole Miss by 160 yards, but it was 43-35. So I'm very curious to see how that game plays out.
At one point, Ole Miss scored touchdowns on 5 consecutive possessions against a Kirby Smart defense.
Crazy.
I'll bet that has never happened.
Probably not. Probably not.
It took Georgia scoring 17 unanswered in the fourth to win that
Yep.
game. So yeah, I tell you what, man, it's a shame that Lane Kiffin's not coaching that game.
Well, gentlemen,
They should bring him out for the coin toss or something like that,
yeah.
just to get a reaction
Content
from the
gold.
crowd. He'll be in New Orleans, so he's got like a home crowd thing, but both fan bases hate him. And he'd probably do it too. That's
he would
what Lane
absolutely.
yes, he
does.
would. Yes, he would.
College Game Day should like wheel like Lane Kiffin out.
Make him the guest
Lane's going to
picker.
be too busy doing the grocery shopping. I don't know if you
Or
guys
yoga.
saw
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Or yoga.
Gentlemen,
They should.
go ahead.
They should
Andy,
wheel
go ahead.
Lane out they should wheel Lane out in the Hannibal Lecter mask on the midfield for the coin flip. And, lean into it, man. You're the villain right now. And he plays it well.
Well, it was a pleasure, everybody. Great having Teel back in Blacksburg. Welcome back and enjoy the Virginia Tech game tomorrow. Hopefully we at least get a close game for you. I think it still can be and should be an interesting next couple weeks. The portal opens up on Friday, so we'll be plenty to talk about next week. So thanks for swinging by.
Happy New Year to everybody, man.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year
Yeah,
indeed.
Enjoy both you guys. Enjoy Hamilton.
Yes.
Should be fun.
What day are you going up there again?
We leave Friday.
Friday. January 2nd. January 2nd. Well, enjoy. For David Cunningham, for the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer David Teel, for Andy Bitter joining us from Richmond, I believe, Nick Brown, I'm Carter Hill saying so long from Blacksburg. And for this edition of Talking with Teel, Happy New Year. We'll talk very soon.